The young and the restless spoilers shock as the late afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of the Abbott mansion. Kyle Abbott stood in the center of the living room, tension radiating from him. He had imagined this conversation going differently. He had hoped that his father, Jack Abbott, would see reason, especially after Claire's recent ordeal. Instead, he found himself feeling unheard and mistrusted. Claire had been threatened openly, viciously, by Victor Newman. Kyle wanted to bring her somewhere safe, and what better sanctuary than his own family home. Yet Jack stood firm in his refusal, arms crossed, jaw set, his eyes reflecting the cool determination that had long defined him as a businessman and patriarch. "I understand what you're feeling," Jack said, his voice low but steady. "You care for Claire. You believe you're doing the right thing. But understand this, Kyle, Victor's fingerprints are all over this situation. We can't ignore the possibility that bringing Claire here might give him a direct line into our personal lives and business affairs." Kyle shook his head, resisting the urge to raise his voice. "Dad, that's not fair. Claire is the victim here. She's the one being threatened, manipulated by Victor. If we show her that we don't trust her, that we suspect her of being a spy, then we're doing exactly what Victor wants. He thrives on fear and division." There was a beat of silence. Outside, a car's engine hummed by, and within the hush of the mansion's halls, the tension between father and son thickened. Jack sighed heavily, moving to stand by the fireplace. "Kyle, you're in love. And love has a way of clouding our judgment. I remember what that's like. But this is about more than just you and Claire. It's about Jabot, our family legacy, and the safety of this house. I won't have Victor sneaking in through a Trojan horse, no matter how lovely she might appear." Kyle clenched his fists, struggling to control the anger welling up inside him. He had only just come back to Jabot after a period of distrust and turmoil. Things were supposed to be different now. He was committed, hardworking, eager to prove himself. But here was Jack, essentially saying that he was still not to be fully trusted, at least not where Claire was concerned. "So, what's your plan then? Put Claire on the street? Because that's what you're asking. She can't go back to Newman territory without risking another confrontation with Victor, and you don't want her here, so where is she supposed to go?" Jack raised a brow. "I never said she couldn't find her own place, Kyle. You're both adults. If you insist on living together, rent an apartment in town. Just don't expect me to open the doors of this family home to someone who could be under Victor's thumb. And another thing, Claire is not to work at Jabot, not until the two of you are married and we have a better sense of where her loyalties lie. I'm sorry, but that's non-negotiable." The younger man's heart sank. Only days ago, he had felt a renewed sense of purpose returning to Jabot, as if he could once again be a crucial part of the family business. Now, he felt like an outsider in his own home. Trust was the cornerstone of the Abbott family ethos, hadn't Jack always preached that? Yet here they were, preparing for Claire's arrival with suspicion instead of comfort. Kyle swallowed hard, trying to steady himself before he replied. "Dad, you're pushing me away," he said, voice strained. "By treating Claire like an enemy, you're treating me like one too. I came back here to prove myself, to show you that I know where I stand and that I'm dedicated to this family. But if you won't trust my judgment on someone I plan to share my life with, then what kind of faith do you really have in me?" Jack's gaze wavered, but he did not fold. If anything, his determination hardened. "You think I'm doing this to hurt you?" "Kyle, I'm doing this to protect you. You can't know what Victor is capable of, what he would sacrifice to gain an advantage. We've been at war with him for longer than you've been alive. He's cunning and ruthless, and he doesn't care about collateral damage, including his own family if it means he comes out on top. He might be willing to tear Claire apart emotionally, to force her into subterfuge, just to sow chaos in our ranks. I will not hand him the keys to this home." Kyle paced the room, his footsteps muffled by the plush rug. He thought of Claire's eyes, wide with worry after Victor's threat. He remembered her trembling voice as she insisted she had no intention of betraying the Abbotts. Claire wasn't some pawn, she was a woman caught between two worlds, determined to stand by the man she loved. But how could Kyle convince his father of her sincerity when decades of bad blood with Victor had hardened Jack's perspective? Eventually, Kyle spoke again, quieter this time, desperation creeping into his words. "I want to believe that you're looking out for me," he said. "I want to believe that what you're doing is right. But Claire needs a safe place, and the world is becoming increasingly hostile for her. If not here, then where? And what message does it send to her that we don't welcome her with open arms?" Jack's response was firm. "If Claire wants to prove she's on our side, she can do it without immediate access to the mansion or a position at Jabot. True loyalty doesn't need a fast track. If she genuinely loves you, Kyle, she'll understand caution. You both can carve out a life together away from this house, at least for now. Let her settle, let her show us who she really is without Newman backing or interference. I'm not denying your love for her, and I'm not denying her place in your future, but I am setting boundaries that will protect all of us." It stung. Kyle could feel his chest tightening, but he also understood, at least on some level, where Jack was coming from. Victor Newman's reputation preceded him. He had always been ready to exploit any weakness in the Abbott family. He lived for the thrill of victory, even if it meant sacrificing the happiness of those closest to him. Claire might be a pawn in Victor's larger game, and Kyle's heart might be the lever he pulled to gain entry. Still, it felt wrong to force Claire to prove her loyalty in such a cold, clinical way. Kyle wanted his father to trust him, to trust that he wouldn't bring a saboteur into their home. The old anger flared up inside him, reminding him of why he had left in the first place. But this time, he tried to manage it, to rise above the instinct to lash out. He would find a solution that satisfied both his love for Claire and his father's need for security. "I'm going to give Claire the option," Kyle said finally, his voice calmer. "I'll explain why you're not comfortable having her here. We'll look for another place, away from the Abbott mansion. But this isn't just about living arrangements. I need you to know that I see the bigger picture. I know what Victor's capable of. I just don't want to assume Claire is cut from the same cloth. I believe in her, Dad, and I need you to respect that." Jack inclined his head, not quite giving a nod of agreement, but acknowledging the sincerity in his son's words. "I do respect it, Kyle. But respect and blind trust are two different things. Let time and her actions show us all where her heart lies." As the conversation drew to a tense close, Kyle realized that this was only the beginning of the test Claire and he would face. Their love would have to stand firm against suspicion, corporate warfare, and the manipulations of a man who would stop at nothing to dominate the playing field. The Abbott mansion might be off limits for now, but Kyle would find a way. With or without Jack's immediate blessing, he would work to prove that love and loyalty could shine through even the darkest shadow Victor Newman cast.